morning students. Welcome to the English class. Today we will be discussing the third lesson of your book Hornbill, and the name of the lesson is Discovering Toad, the Saga Continues, and it is written by A.R. Williams. Okay, so this story is related to, this is just an experience of the author and of some of the researchers or archaeologists. So what sort of experience? Means they all were interested in revealing the reason of the death of the King Tut, who had died at a very early age. Okay, so all these researchers want to know the basic reason of his death, that at certain early age why he died. So what were the reasons behind it? So for that they will be requiring his dead body. Okay, so they just recovered his dead body from the pyramids of Egypt, and along with that dead body they have recovered so many other things also that we will be reading in the further in this video only. So let us first of all discuss the theme of the lesson. It is a description of the exploration conducted by a team of researchers. Okay, so it is just a description of that how they went there, what were the things they got there, what was the atmosphere at that time, how was the season. Okay, so everything was mentioned in this experience. It gives the account of struggles. So during this exploration they have to struggle a lot. It was not the easy task for all these researchers, and the team faces to unravel the mystery of death of a teenage ruler Tut. So they all want to resolve the mystery of the death of King Tut, and this was the basic reason of their research. Okay, so the lesson will be more clear with the help of PPT presentation, so you just enjoy that. So students, as you know, the name of the lesson is Discovering Tut, the Saga Continues, and the name of the author for this is A.R. Williams. Okay, let us move forward. Discovery of Tut's tomb. Let us see. The discovery of Tut's tomb by Howard Carter in 1922 is considered the most important archaeological find of the century. After years of painstaking work in the Valley of the Kings, Carter's patron, Lord Carnarvon, had warned him that would be the last season of work because nothing significant had been found. On November 22 of that year, Carter's persistence finally paid off. Tutankhamun became a household name, and his magnificent treasures became the measuring stick for all future archaeological discoveries. The mysteries surrounding his life and death are gradually being solved, and his story continues to unfold as new theories are proposed in an attempt to explain what really happened to the boy behind the golden mask. So students, this lesson describes the historical archaeological event that took place on January 5, 2005. And on this day, the remains of King Tut were brought out of the burial chamber at 6 p.m. for about 3 hours, and a CT scan was carried out. Okay, so this was a very important incident. And students, basically the archaeologists want to reveal the mystery of the death of young King Tut, who had died at a very early age, and they also want to know that what was the reason behind that, because at such an early age no one can die without any reason. So the archaeologists were very curious to know the reason of his death also. So on November 22 of that particular year, they just started their survey and they just move forward accordingly. So here the young Tut king was being known as young Pharaoh also. Okay, let us read about the life of King Tut, and here we will discuss about his rhyme. So given his age, the king probably had very powerful advisors, presumably including General Hornham and the Vizier A. Hornham records that the king appointed him lord of the land as hereditary prince to maintain law. He also noted his ability to calm the young king when his temper flared. Domestic policy. In his third regnal year, Tutankhamun resolved several changes made during his father's reign. And so he ended the worship of the god Aten and restored the god Amun to supremacy. The ban on the cult of Amun was lifted and traditional privileges were restored to its priesthood. The capital was moved back to Thebes and the city of Akheten abandoned. This is when he changed his name to Tutankhamun, living image of Amun, reinforcing the restoration of Amun. So this is the biggest change which the young king Tut had made, that he had changed the worshipping god from Aten to Amun, and he had said that Amun is more powerful and supreme than Aten, and the god Aten was being worshipped for a very long time previously by the post generations even, but here young King Tut had changed the god of worship even. Okay, and even he has changed his name also. Name of what? Name of his kingdom, just to reinforce the restoration of god Amun. Okay, so let us move forward and know more about King Tut's life, where we will come to know that what other major changes the young King Tut had made in his kingdom. So let us see. As part of his restoration, the king initiated building projects, and in particular at Thames and Karnak, where he dedicated a temple to Amun. So for god Amun, he has created two temples, one at Thebes and second one is at Karnak. Okay, many monuments were erected and an inscription on his tomb door declares the king had spent his life in fashioning the images of the gods. So from where the archaeologists come to know about all these things regarding the temples construction and all? So from the inscriptions that were erected on the monuments, they have come to know all this. Okay, the traditional festivals were now celebrated again, including those related to the April's Bull, Hormeket and Opet. His restoration stela says the temples of the gods and goddesses were in ruins. Their shrines were deserted and overgrown. Their sanctuaries were non-existent and their courts were used as roads. The gods turned their backs upon this land. If anyone made a prayer to a god for advice, he would never respond. Okay, so all these points are being said by the stela. Okay, so what were those? That the temples of god and goddesses, they were destroyed. Okay, and their shrines were deserted, means everything has just mixed with the soil. So whatever the construction was being made during the that, so it is all demolished. Okay, so let us see. And his courts were used as roads because they too were demolished and now they have mixed with the roads even. So and the gods turned their backs upon this land, means the statues of gods were also broken, mixed with the land. And if anyone prays with the god or ask for the advice of god, then also god did not respond, as god was not existed, as the idol of the gods were broken, not broken, they got demolished with the passage of time. Okay, so this is all about the King Tut's works. Okay, let us move forward and see what other things we can come to know regarding King Tut's. So burial treasure of Tut was also been found when the archaeologists were trying to reveal the death mystery of Tut. So what was that in that treasure? Let us come to know. The treasure of Tutankhamun have been marveled at since their discovery by Howard Carter on November 4, 1922. It was the first and to this day the only royal tomb in the history of Egyptology to be found practically untouched. So, for the first time by Howard Carter, the archaeological survey regarding King Tut was being made in the year 1922. Okay. Even though in ancient times it had been the object of no less than 2 attempts at robbery. The emptying of Tutankhamun's tomb lasted several years and made possible the recovery of about 3,500 articles. So 3,500 articles were recovered from the Tut's tomb, confirming the tomb as the most exceptional archaeological discovery ever made in Egypt. So archaeologists have confirmed that this was the exceptional discovery made by them in the Egypt, because they have found a lot of treasure there, and also they were in suspect that what can be the reason of this young king's death. Tutankhamun's second innermost coffin, also referred to as the intermediate coffin, is made of gilded laminated wood with inlays of polychrome glass paste. Tutankhamun's third coffin is made of solid hammered gold and weighs about 450 pounds. The royal mummy of Tutankhamun was found inside this coffin. Means finally, after 2 coffins, in the third coffin, archaeologists have got the Tut's dead body. Okay, and a lot of treasures were found in the previous 2 coffins. Okay, so let us see. Tutankhamun's famous gold funerary mask rested directly on the pharaoh's mummy inside the third coffin. The pharaoh wears the classic names headdress stripped with transferred bands of glass paste imitating lap is lazuli, and is adorned with a white collar composed of streaks of semi-precious stones and colored glasses. The eyes are made of quartz and obsidian. As on the coffins, the lapis lazuli outline of the eyes reproduces the distinctive kohl eye makeup originally applied to protect against the sun's glare, but increasingly employed for its beautifying effect. So here the description of the Tut's mummy is being given. So let us see. The foremost and furthermost gilded wood statues portray Tutankhamun hunting hippopotamus with a harpoon from a boat made of papyrus. One of the 2 calcite lamps found in Tutankhamun's burial chamber, the cup takes the form of an open lotus flower and is flanked on both sides by rich open work decoration in which the god He is depicted kneeling on a number of papyrus plants with his arms raised. So papyrus means a water plant. So here the posture of god is shown in a picture around the limb. Three models of luxury ships on the left side were found in Tutankhamun's tomb. The baldachins at the bow and stern are decorated with symbols of the sphinx and the bull. Sphinx, you all know, the horse which is having wings. 32 model boats were placed in the tomb for Tutankhamun's use in the afterwards. Means after his death, he will be using those boats in the heavens. Therefore, in such a belief, all these things were kept along with his coffin. Now let us see what was the effect of touching or doing the archaeological survey with the Tut's tomb. So what happened? First of all, the first incident was a cobra killed Howard Carter's pet canary after discovery of King Tut's tomb. Then second one is Lord Carnarvon, the person who funded the dig of King Tut's tomb, died shortly after the discovery due to a mosquito bite which turned into an infection. So see student, just a bite of mosquito became an infection in his body. At that exact moment, the lights in Cairo mysteriously went out. Okay, and the third thing was Lord Carnarvon's dog howled and dropped dead at 2 in the morning when Carnarvon died. And what is interesting is that Howard Carter lived a decade after this major discovery. Means nothing happened with Howard Carter, the main archaeologist who was behind it and who first dared to touch the Tut's tomb for archaeological survey. Okay, so this all may be the illusions of them. Then in 1923, another man involved in the opening of the tomb, George J. Gott, died as a result of a fever, followed by Carnarvon's half-brother Orbes Herbert in 1923. Egyptologist H.E. Evelyn White, radiologist Sir Archibald Douglas, read Howard Carter's assistant Richard Bethel, his father Lord Westbury, Egyptologist A.C. Mays, Egyptologist James Breasted in 1933, and finally Howard Carter in March of 1939. So they all died in the duration. Okay. Although some believe that the deaths may just be coincidental, many believe that the deaths were a result of mummy's curse. So there were two kind of people. Some of the people believes that the deaths may be coincidental, therefore we are correlating it with the discovery, and other people were saying that these deaths may be the result of mummy's curse. Okay, it is believed several of the deaths could be linked to a released mold that had been trapped in the tomb and released. So that soul of Tut was being caught in the tomb, and when they just broke out that tomb, they had released that soul. New findings are showing that bacteria on the wall of the tomb might have been cause of the curse. The bacteria would release spores into the air, allowing to be breathed. This in turn caused people who came into contact with these spores to become ill. So the people who were in the favor that maybe it may be coincidental, or some had advocated that the bacteria which was there sticked there in the walls of that particular tomb, it may be inhaled by these people and therefore they have reached to their death. Now let us see how did the archaeological survey proceeds. Jahi Hawass, what did he say? Who was he? He was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. Okay. So he says that, to me the story of Tutankhamun is like a play whose ending is still being written. The first act of the drama begins in about 1390 BC, several decades before Tutankhamun's birth, when the great pharaoh Amenhotep III assumes the throne of Egypt, controlling an empire stretching 1,200 miles from the Euphrates in the north to the fourth cataract of the Nile in the south. This king of the 18th dynasty is rich beyond imagining. Along with his powerful queen, Tai, Amenhotep III rules for 37 years, worshipping the gods of his ancestors above all. Amen, while his people prosper and vast wealth flows into the royal coffers from Egypt's foreign holdings. So Jahi Hawass has described the previous time of Tut's family. Okay, so here he lives with his great wife, the beautiful Nefertiti, and together they serve as the high priest of the Aten, assisted in their duties by their 6 cherished daughters. All power and wealth is stripped from the Amun parishhood, and the Aten reigns supreme. The art of this period is also infused with the revolutionary new naturalism. The pharaoh has himself depicted not with an idealized face and youthful muscular body as were pharaohs before him, but is strangely effeminate with a pot belly and a thick lipped elongated face. The end of Akhenaten's reign is cloaked in confusion. A scene acted out behind closed curtains, one or possibly two kings rules for short periods of time, either alongside Akhenaten after his death or both. If Act 1 is about tradition and stability, Act 2 is revolt. When Amenhotep III dies, he is succeeded by his second son Amenhotep IV, a bizarre visionary who turns away from Amun and the other gods of the state pantheon and worships instead a single deity known as the Aten, the disk of the sun. In the 5th year of his reign, he changes his name to Akhenaten. He who is beneficial to the Aten, he elevates himself to the status of a living god and abandons the traditional religious capital at Thebes, building a great ceremonial city 180 miles to the north at a place now called Amman. Like many other Egyptologists, I believe the first of these kings is actually Nefertiti. The second is a mysterious figure called Smenkhkare, about whom we know almost nothing. What we know for sure is that when the curtain opens on Act 3, the throne is occupied by a young boy. The 9-year-old Tutankhamun, the living image of the Aten. Within the first 2 years of his tenure on the throne, he and his wife Ankhesenaten, a daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti, abandoned Amarna and returned to Thebes, reopening the temples and restoring their wealth and glory. They changed their names to Tutankhamun and Ankhesenaten, proclaimed their rejection of Akhenaten's heresy and their renewed dedication to the cult of Amun. So this is all about the tradition and the King Tut's ancestors. Okay, and who were the descendants after them. So these all are being explained here. Then the curtain falls. 10 years after ascending the throne, Tutankhamun is dead, leaving no heirs in succeed him. He is hardly buried in a small tomb, designed originally for a private person rather than a king. In a backlash against Akhenaten's heresy, his successors managed to delete from history nearly all traces of the Amarna's kings, including Tutankhamun. More than 5,000 artifacts were found inside the tomb, but the archaeological record has so far failed to illuminate the young king's most intimate family relationships, who were his mother and father. What became of his widow, means Tut's wife? Are the two mummified fetuses found in the tomb king Tutankhamun's own prematurely born children and tokens of purity to accompany him into the afterlife? With this discovery, we now know that it is unlikely that either of Akhenaten's known wives, Nefertiti, and a second wife named Kia, was Tutankhamun's mother, since there is no evidence from the historical records that either was his full sister. We know the names of 5 daughters of Amenhotep III and Tai, but we will probably never know which of Akhenaten's sisters bore him a brother. Incest was not uncommon among ancient Egyptian royalty. So this is all about the story and what the archaeologist Howard Carter has felt. Now let us see the role of science and technology in discovering Tut. Egypt's famed king Tutankhamun suffered from a cleft palate and clubfoot, likely forcing him to walk with a cane, and died from complications from a broken leg exacerbated by malaria. According to the most extensive study ever is his mummy. The findings were from 2 years of DNA testing and CT scan on 16 mummies, including those of Tutankhamun and his family. The team that carried out the study said in an article to be published Wednesday in the Journal of American Medical Association. It also established the clearest yet family tree for Tut. The study said his father was most likely Akhenaten, the pharaoh who tried to revolutionize ancient Egyptian religion to worship one god, while his mother was still unidentified sister of Akhenaten. Tut, who became pharaoh at the age of 10 in 1333 BC, ruled for just 9 years at a pivotal time in Egypt's history. While a comparatively minor king, the 1922 discovery of his tomb filled with stunning artifacts, including the framed golden beryl mask, made him known the world over. Speculations had long swirled over why the boy king died at such a young age. A hole in his skull long fueled speculations he was murdered, until an X-ray scan in 2005 ruled that out, finding that the hole was likely from the mummification process. The scan also uncovered the broken leg. So all these discoveries, archaeological discoveries, were possible only due to science and technology. The CT scan and X-rays of such a critical situation, mummy, will be possible, was possible only because of the science and technology. So this is the greatest discovery of all the archaeologists. You just see that Howard Carter and other archaeologists have done a lot, and in what situation the mummy was found, you yourself can just see. And even the face of young pharaoh was also been imagined and taken out as a true face. Okay, so you just see the artifacts which were found along with the coffin of young pharaoh. So all these were the great discoveries of the archaeologists. Okay, so students, how was the story? I think you all have enjoyed the experience of all the researchers. You all have come to know that what were the struggles they come across, what were the things they discovered. Okay, so once more read the lesson from the book so that it will be easier for you. Thank you.